Well, greetings and welcome to ADX Files. I'm your host, Alyson Shanes, and I'm speaking today with return guest Fotoula Adrimi. Now, Fotoula is the director of the ISIS School of Holistic Health, which is an international school of shamanism, or shamanism, however you prefer to say it, the healing arts, spiritual development, and inner transformation through vibrational energy work. And she does enlightened teachings and meditation. She's part of the global network of shamanic teachers under Sandra Ingerman, and she lives and works in Glasgow in Scotland. She's taught in Germany, Greece, and the Netherlands, and has led spiritual pilgrimages to Egypt. Our first book was The Golden Book of Wisdom, Ancient Spirituality and Shamanism for Modern Times, which was an Amazon UK bestseller. It's an epitome of spiritual learning, mysticism, and soul evolution. Well, Fotoula, welcome back to ADX Files. I'm delighted that you could join us today.
I'm so glad to be back, and it seems a long time that I was actually here. So thank you so much for inviting me back, and thank you for all the work you do, Alyson, to really share the information of all the wonderful things that people are awakening into now, and our work that is so beautiful and so sacred. And thank you for all the contribution to the spiritual community. And to everybody listening, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, Fotoula, you're just so lovely. So you are, you really are. Um, would you mind telling us a bit more about yourself?
Well, yes, where can I start? Really, since I was a child, I was very connected. I used to say psychic, but I want to use the word connected because psychic sometimes people think, oh, we're just talking to spirits, talking to different spirits. But connection for me also means connected with the earth and connected with the elements and connected with the beautiful sea that was where I grew up in Greece. Connected, of course, to the enlightened beings who were working with me from a young age, and connected to myself, connecting to my heart. I was very much heart-based, a heart-based connection when I was young, when I was a child. And because of the enlightened beings being around me, I managed to keep that connection for a long time until I became a teenager. That kind of the conditioned mind came, but that heart-based connection was still there. And I would say that my life had been quite a big part of my life was a very normal life. I went to university and the Sorbonne in Paris, studied town planning, worked as a town planner, and did wonderful things there. And my work was very much creating spaces for community. So it was again another way to channel this heartfelt energy. But then the spiritual world came back to me and reminded me of my soul purpose. And I was very lucky. I didn't know my soul purpose then. I would say even for many years working in the spiritual field, I didn't know my soul purpose. But little by little started to reveal itself. And somebody said, to me a few days ago, it feels as if you are a midwife that is helping us birth ourselves again through high vibrational energy and light, and remind us that we are this light again. And that felt right. And I thought that is really what it feels like, birthing ourselves through light back to the world and raising our vibration, remembering our connection. So I do this through shamanism, as you said, Alyson. I also do this through the ancient Egyptian spirituality and mysteries, because there are like these parts of me and they all work together. But people, find it sometimes hard to explain. They say, are you doing shamanic work or are you doing ancient Egyptian mysteries? are you doing the other things that I do, past life regression therapies and teaching other work that came to me for the spiritual DNA? What is it that you do? What is that you most do? And I would say these are all parts of me. And people who know me through the shamanic work saying, you should do shamanic work only. This is so good. And then people who know me through the Egyptian mysteries, they say, you should do this only. Why are you doing shamanism? And it's because everything is part of me. And somehow it's all comes and blends together. So yes, I'm a shamanic teacher, and I love shamanism is in my lineage from my family in Greece. We have very old lineage, and it's something not many people know about. Very few people know about the shamanic work in Greece because it was kept secret within the family, and that was to protect the knowledge as well. But sometimes you can have overprotection, and that's when things become lost because you haven't passed something, or the lineage, the people who did the work died before they managed to share it. So a lot of it can be lost, and then there is the spiritual mysteries of Egypt. That is something that I've experienced through my past lives there, and through really knowing that Egypt is my spiritual home. And I had this love for Egypt since I was a child, this attraction that I want to go there. And I could not go there, of course, as a child, but you can go there in spirit. And that's what used to happen to me. So I can talk a lot, as you you asked me one question and I spoke so much.
That's all right. Yeah, so you make my job easy when you do that. That's absolutely fine. No problem with that. You talked about ancient religions there, but you also have had experiences with Mother Mary.
Yes,
What
yes.
happened there?
So when I grew up in Greece, so I grew up in the Greek Orthodox tradition, and because of that, we used to the school. This was the mainstream school. It wasn't the religious school. It was just mainstream at the time, and every second Friday we used to go to the church and listen to the mass, and the Greek mass lasts 2-3 hours, so it was like quite a bit of the morning. It's a long mass, and there's beautiful chanting, but everything is in ancient Greek. And as little kids, you can recognize a few words but not really get the meaning, what is happening. But I could feel this incredible love, and I used to look up in the sky, and we have this dome in that church. In the Greek churches is quite common, the dome with Jesus on top. And I felt such an incredible connection with the divine. And I felt that not just in the Greek church, I felt that in every sacred space. I feel it in every church. I feel it in synagogues, in mosques, in sacred places, in standing stones. There is a deep connection with the divine that flows to us. So I was just in that beautiful space. And then Mother Mary started talking to me, and she used to talk to me like, as I talk to you now. And it was nothing like, oh, the reverence or a spiritual experience. It was like having a mother who was there for you to ask any question you wanted. As a child, I used to ask her, can you tell me the time? Can you tell me what to do here? What should I do today? I have this problem, with this situation. I feel sorry about this. And she used to just cocoon me with that love, and just telling me, I'm here for you. I was just a complete, love and presence there. And she answered my questions. And I used to pray to her when I wanted to win the raffle at school. And she did it for me. I used to really, really pray. And
Wow.
just believing, there was a huge belief that yes, I am, this is true, this is all true, and I'm surrounded by love. And so many times I won the raffle, no problem. And it lasted for that connection lasted for a long time, even when I went to university and I had some difficulties, and I asked Mother Mary, and she was saying, of course I can do this. I said, can you help me here? It's a very hard situation. She said, of course I can help you. And then of course the mind comes, and for me the mind came through guilt, because um, I felt at some point, well, who are you to talk to Mother Mary? Only the priests can talk to Mother Mary. You're just, a woman, little girl, or just this person. You're not, you're not a person who could speak to somebody like Mother Mary, and that guilt created that separation. And it took me a while, when my spiritual path opened at the age of 30, and it came flooding back and reminding me of all these experiences. And I started to embrace it more and more, that I realized that yes, everybody is worthy, because the enlightened beings do not ask for regalia, and they do not ask for how much sort of do we have all these uh, 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 priests and priestesses. Just like they look at our heart. They don't care for anything else. They say it's your heart that matters. Even all our past lives, people sometimes ask me, is it because you have past lives in Egypt that you are channeling the goddess Isis? And I said to them, Isis never said that to me. She never said, I am coming to you, I'm asking you to be my teacher because of your past lives. She said, I'm coming to you because of your heart. And so when we drop into our essential nature of unconditional love, we can create miracles. But guilt, fear stop us, judgment, all of this I've experienced. So I can see why they hold people back, because I have walked that path where I had to overcome the guilt, the fear, the insecurity. And it's an ongoing work. We're not ever the finished product. We keep working on ourselves, but we need to keep walking that path. So yeah,
Uh,
that's the big answer.
no. You you mentioned Isis there. Now, is she a mother goddess too? And are they basically the same thing, or are they completely different like beings, enlightened beings? You called them there.
Yes. So this is how my connection with Isis is. I've seen her, when she came to me, she said, I am a teacher. I'm a teacher that opens the path to ascension. This was her role. This is how she introduced herself. And in ancient Egypt, they called her the mistress of Heka. And Heka means the power of creation, the power that creates all these universes, spiritual and physical universes. So they call her the mistress of Heka, because she opens that path of higher energy, that path of knowledge. So for me, she has been that teacher for me. But also her energy comes with a lot of power, but also a lot of love. And she talks about these two, power and love, coming into balance together. We need both. It's not just, if we just have power, we can see the results in our world, what happens when our power is unbalanced. We need love. And if we just have love, but we are powerless, we cannot act. We just become, somebody takes advantage of us, and we're always giving, and we're not in balance. So she taught me about these two things. She also said to me that she has a big connection, and I felt that it might be difficult for people to accept, but over the thousands of years that people connected with her in Egypt and before, she also said to me that she does have a connection with Mother Mary. Now, Isis herself, as this being of light, never incarnated. She never came into body. So
Right.
she's in that state. But what we know, Mother Mary, of course, from the biblical stories, has incarnated. But she said to me that Mother Mary and Jesus had a connection with ancient Egypt. And we maybe I found some sort of proof when I read that Jesus spent 20 years in Egypt before he escaped to Egypt, as you know, of course, much better than me. He escaped to Egypt as a baby to save himself from Herod, but then he spends many years, 20 years in Egypt. So Isis said to me, this ancient knowledge was shared with him and with Mother Mary and other people, their scenes were very connected with ancient Egypt. So she talked to me about that, but that may be a historical side. But the energy that comes, that divine love, I also had felt with Mother Mary. And Isis is in the ancient Greeks described her. Isis is a name in ancient Greek. They said she is the goddess of 10,000 names, which means 10,000 emanations. So as this divine mother goddess, you could say archetype, but also enlightened being, she has many names in many places. So I feel what she's asking of us is to become her. So she's saying that by connecting with she brings to us the light of the world so we can become that light, so we can become the divine mother energy. So that is the part of ascension that part of us already is and can be, therefore, again in the world, that divine mother energy.
Okay, lovely. You mentioned Heka there.
Yeah.
I wondered when I read that word as the part of the title of your book, is there a connection to Hecate, the Greek goddess?
Well, that's a really interesting question because a lot of people ask me that. So there are
Here's me thinking I was being original there.
no, it's a question that I've pondered about that. So in Greek, the word is not Hekate. In Greek is Ekati. So there's no H in ancient Greek and in Greek. It's the same word. Her name has not changed over the thousands of years in Greece. And Hecate is very much an what we call katachtonia or catactonic goddess, which is of the underworld. That means she's of the underworld. And she is very much also a figure of death and life and of the earth, because her ancient priests and priestesses used to walk barefoot on the earth to make sure we're always connecting with the earth. And that's how we can then grow. So I'm very interested in her because she comes into the shamanic tradition of Greece very strongly as a very powerful spirit. But her energy is very different to Isis. So I would say for me, even though, yes, Hecate, in English you can see there is a connection. In the ancient Greek word, that connection is not there, of course, because it's a kati. But what we can see there in Hecate is that is the triple goddess. She's a triple goddess, which is the European tradition. You know, even in the Celtic lands, we talk about the triple goddess. And where I come from in Greece, that we have found, not me personally, but the archaeologists, I mean the Greek archaeologists, have found statues of Hecate, which are like a tube, or if you like, a statue, but with three sides. And in each side is another description of this goddess. She is a triple goddess. And therefore, I would say she's very different to Isis, because Isis it doesn't have that triple side. Isis is also associated with another goddess, though, which is Hathor. And Hathor means, or Hathor, as they say in English, is the goddess of unconditional love. She's the great mother, the nurturer, who sustains from her breast, from her milk, from her body, the whole of creation and the humankind. So that's more her side. Well, Hecate is the magical goddess too, very, very important but of the underworld and guards the gates of death in ancient Greece. So yeah,
Yeah, she was a psychopomp, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what is the living light? You talk about the living light quite a lot in your book.
Yes, the living light is the words that uh, I kind of use to try and describe what is this spirituality of the living light. So basically, it takes people from it goes through a journey of creation and uncreation. So in the beginning, they say it's the void, it's the emptiness, is the lake of nothingness. And out of this void, the intention for creation appears, and that intention is energy. And that energy is called Atum, the creative energy. So Atum flows out of the void and manifests first the lotus flower, which is unconditional love. And through that, everything else is born. So we are created from this lotus flower. We emerge. We are a tumtuk coming out of this lotus flower as physical beings, but our essence is that lotus of unconditional love and also awareness. And then we have our journey, in the physical world. In the beginning, we are very much in our light as children, and then of course the conditioning comes, and eventually what happens in our spiritual journey, this is not a linear journey but a cyclical journey. So the cycle goes back. So there is the point of, through the enlightened process, the awakening process, the enlightenment process, first of all we become again the lotus flower, then we become the shining spirit called Sahu. They call that the Sahu. Means that you're so much light that you can even transform your body. You're no longer bound by the elements. You're not bound by the physical world. You are now this being that is so bright, like the rising sun on the eastern horizon. And they called that particular the phrase they used to describe that was Ra Horakti, meaning that you're rising like Ra, the shining one, on the eastern horizon, after having a journey of physical life and going through the battle with the ego, overcoming the ego, and you become then one with everything. So you're going back to that state of being the light and being the void again, and being the nothingness after you have experienced your journey over many lifetimes. So that is really the living light, and
Okay.
in the spiritual way, and in a more practical way, it is becoming the awakened spirit in the body. So you are living in this world, because as a spirit, when we die and we go back to the oneness that we came from, then we are the living light. We are light, but to be the living light means to be that while you are living in a body. And then you have that definition. And the third definition is to the energy that they worked with. They called it the living light because this energy is divine, so all aware, enlightened energy that brings harmony, balance, and healing, even though sometimes it has to swing the pendulum from side to side to come to that point of stillness. So this energy that they call the living light, they used both for their technology. It's etheric energy of the universe, so it's abundant. They didn't use fossil fuels. They had the ability to work with the energy of the universe. They used it in healing. They used it in to regenerate their bodies. They used it in every aspect of life, and they used it in their spiritual work.
Okay, thank you. Um, you mentioned someone called Frank Babcock.
Yes.
Who is Frank?
Frank is no more, unfortunately.
Ah,
So Frank was an early mentor of mine. So this is what happened. It was in the beginning, 2005, 2006, like more 2006, I would say. And I just couldn't get enough of spiritual information, spiritual arts. I was studying healing, different things. And one of the teachers that I met, she came from America and was teaching us a type of healing that's called archetypal healing. And it was just me and another woman, and we were in my meditation room. And every time I closed my eyes, I could see this man, big man, in front of me, as the outline, a luminous outline of this man. And I had no idea who this was, so I just assumed it was must be a spirit guide. So I thought, okay. And then there was something that, they were trying to do this healing type of healing for somebody, but it was very complicated, very hard. And the teacher said, right, I need to email my friend Frank, because he's a great cleanser. He's a good cleaner. He cleans everything. He's able to deal with what is happening here. I cannot do it. So I said, sure, there were not many laptops then. We had the old computers. So she got to my
And,
kitchen, got
and
the,
dial up as
yes,
well.
yeah, wait, yeah, the dial up, that's right. That was, those were the days. So she basically emailed Frank, and Frank said, I'm already working on this. I'm in the room. I came to pay my respects to the priestess of ancient Egypt. So that was, she said, that's you. See, Frank has said you were a high priestess in Egypt, and he came to pay his respects. And I had no idea. And I was like, oh, I can't even say it now. It's difficult for me because it's something I was, but I haven't become again. And I don't use titles. I don't like titles. But he came for that reason. And I said, okay, um, I mean, I knew very little. And she said, you have to connect with Frank and email him and see what he says to you, because he came to you, and that was the luminous outline I was seeing. That was Frank.
Wow.
So Frank was the most generous, amazing man. He was in his 80s then. Well, maybe just before his 80, maybe before that. But he was so available, and I had all these questions, and he kept me right. And he said, "Look, you must do this past life work to go and find out what you did then." Um, and uh, and then I was getting myself into trouble because I didn't know. So I was trying to do healing, and I just thought all energies were lovely. And he told me a lot about discernment, about how to open sacred space, how to really do the work, and be very, very disciplined, which is necessary if you are working with very high vibrational energies. And then when he died, he did a healing for me. And a day later, I got an email and saying Frank died. And I thought, my goodness, he never said to me, Fotoula, I'm ill, I'm not well, or, and he was doing healing work for me. And I remember being so sad and coming in and crying in my room. And he materialized in front of me in color with a red jumper, and he just raised his hand, and I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, Frank
Wow.
is in my room. And I got a little, I just didn't know what to do. And then he just left. But a couple of weeks later, one of his friends sent me his photograph, and I have his photograph here. But he was an extraordinary healer and such a wonderful person. So this is who Frank was.
That's who
Yeah,
Frank was.
yeah.
That must have been an incredible experience, that. Um, why was the number 3 so important to the Egyptians? Seems to have been an important number.
The trinities, yes, they talk a lot about the trinity, but in ancient Egyptian, the trinity is the male female bringing together the creation. So we have the divine in the masculine, the divine in the feminine, and the divine child, who is actually the creator. And the child is very different to these two, to the masculine and the feminine. So you could, it's not a copy, a carbon copy of these two powers. It brings its own sense of how it's like a child in a family is never a carbon copy of the mother or father, but a complete being on its own right, bringing its own essence and personality. So number three was really important in the sense of Trinity. The two, masculine and feminine, are the two powers that bring the creation together, and then you have it in the physical, in the new being. That's one of the things that I think the Trinity is. And I think that is very balanced, because it's wonderful. We have the Trinity as well, the Holy Trinity, in my Orthodox tradition, but somehow the woman has been left out of this. It's it's not there,
Yeah.
and well, in the ancient world, she was there, very much equal
Mm-hmm.
to the masculine. So when you look at the statues of the goddesses and the pictures on the wall, that's like in the divine, might not have translated in the physical, in the patriarchal world, but in the divine essence, you'll see the gods and goddesses are all of equal height. It's not that the goddess is down there and the god is up there. There's a very much, a sense of these two forces come together and there's this equality and between them, and they help each other and just have different roles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think the Trinity there is really, it really comes from that, the number three. There are other explanations as well. So you could speak about the three worlds and the different, the state of the physical state and the spiritual state and the underworld and the upper or enlightened world, and the different planes that the soul travels. But for me, the number three, it comes from that.
Okay, that's incredibly interesting about the same heights. That I never noticed that before. Um, how does someone go from being on a low vibration to a high vibration? If you were to sort of give any pointers, how does that happen?
So yeah, it takes work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have, there's no magic wand, or I haven't found
Yeah.
one. I wish I did, but I haven't found one. So it's a journey. I think it's a journey. It's a journey, first of all, a journey of healing of the inner self. So through the work of with the light vibration, the high vibrational energies, through meditation, through spiritual practice, through ritual, what happens is we are starting to shed the old skin, and our awareness increases, because the reason we might have a low vibration is because we do things that maybe are not very good things, but we have no idea. We do not realize what I'm doing actually doesn't serve me. It might be a habit, it might be an addiction, it might be, well, we always did that. So I think there's a process of growth, and this growth is very much enabled through the mysteries, through connection with the light, through this very beautiful light of love that has no judgment. There is never, this concept of, you're a bad person, you have sinned, you have, you should feel guilty, ashamed of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is never there. It's complete acceptance. These enlightened beings have no judgment for us. They don't wish to us to worship them or put them on a pedestal. They just wish for us to discover ourselves and heal ourselves. So sometimes when that happens, there can be a little bit of grinding of the diamond that happens, because we look at our lives and saying, well, my life as it is, it doesn't serve my soul's purpose. it, I need to change things, I need to heal things. So so another way, if somebody wishes to connect more, is to connect through nature, because nature, Mother Earth, is already at a higher vibration than the human conditioning, the human mind. And that that change, that higher vibrational change, happened during the lockdown. So because we weren't out there, maybe because of that, I don't know, or because we maybe took more time to do spiritual work, the earth's vibration changed and became higher. So if people wish to connect with the earth, meditate with the trees, speak to Mother Earth, spend time in nature, they will start to feel that beautiful peace and that beautiful energy coming to them. Um, but
Yeah, I actually had questions about connecting. You mentioned connecting to the sun and the moon, and all these uh, things to do with nature.
yeah,
Even Sirius, you mentioned as well.
yes,
Um, you also said about cosmic portals and stars that we originate from. That's a fascinating topic.
yeah.
How do we know which star or portal that we come from? How is it just that we have a sense that we come from there?
So we have not, had just lives on earth. We have not just lived on earth, but we might have lived on earth many lifetimes. But we also came, before we came to earth, maybe we came from another world, whether it's the same dimension, the physical realm, or higher dimension, or whatever dimension it is, but might be very different from the earth school here. Or it might be that we came from many different, not just one, but different cosmic planes, different star systems, different planets in the cosmos. And the way to discover that is when we are ready, when we are on a spiritual path. This knowledge can come to us through ceremony, through hypnosis, like people do past life regression, they find their past lives. They could do something similar. And for some people, this is really important. I had people that I was teaching the course, so the past life regression course, and clients where they had an issue they wanted to resolve that was manifesting in this lifetime now. But the issue actually originated somewhere outside the earth. And that is really fascinating, because it shows, that what we think we are is very limited, and there is such a bigger picture. So I think if people are on a spiritual path, it would be lovely to do either a shamanic journey or a regression work to find out, where did I come from? Why did I come on earth?
Mm-hmm.
Even in this lifetime, why was I born here? It is never an accident.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that is meant to happen. And actually, at soul level, our soul wanted to come here. But for most people, at least, for the vast, I would say 99.9%, most people really wanted to be here. But we come here and we get embroiled in the conditions of the planet. We lose our connection. And then we say, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? I was no, I should have been born somewhere else. This life is too hard. And the lack of acceptance takes place, that actually makes us more distant, alienates us from our very nature, from ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think it's one way as well. Perhaps you mentioned connecting with the sun, even just following the seasonal cycles, the changes of the year connects you to nature, uh,
This,
and the same with the lunar phases as well. because you've mentioned the moon. Um, yeah, Sirius, that was an interesting thing there. I think it's quite a fascinating star. I think quite a few people, um, they see it and they wonder what it is. I'd never really given it much thought otherwise. So, how important was Sirius to the ancient Egyptians?
It was very, very important. In most temples, you find these two portals. One is the portal to the Sirius star, and the other one is the portal to the Orion belt. And you find that those portals everywhere, because the enlightened being who symbolizes Sirius, who connects us with Sirius, is goddess Isis. The ancient Egyptians call her Iset Sothis, meaning Isis of the Sirius star. That is the mystical name of the Sirius star. There's another one that is in ancient Egyptian, but the word Sothis became very much part of the mysteries. So I'm using that one. And then Osiris, he is connected to the Orion belt, to the Orion constellation. And Sirius is all about life. It's about awakening. It's about the energy of light, the living light that flows to the earth to helps us to awaken. And there is a huge energy portal there that is beaming to the earth, but is very respectful. So it says that the energy flows depending on our level of consciousness. So if our level of consciousness is low, that's okay. The energy is not too strong. It doesn't want to, create damage or too much all at one time, because our mind will not be able to handle this. And as we grow, then more and more light flows. And this happens at individual level and at collective level. So this is the portal of the Sirius star. And then you have the Orion portal that is more available to us when we die. So when we die, we have a huge download of energy to help the soul go, change the perspective from this physical world to the higher realm of the spirit. So this is like the Orion portal. And as I said, most people would not be able to feel that portal until they die. But the ancient Egyptians said, we don't want to wait for death. This is an incredible gate of enlightenment. All this energy is available to us. So they had mysteries where they reenacted their death. They became this dead Osiris who, all connected with that Orion portal. And through those death mysteries, they had awakening experiences and they walked their spiritual path.
Incredible. Incredible. It's kind of like religious plays, passion plays, acting out these things. Orion's belt you mentioned there. It was also mentioned there's a documentary, Zeitgeist. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Which one?
Zeitgeist.
Oh, no, I haven't
Oh.
seen.
Um, they said that it was known as the Three Kings. So there's like lots there for astrotheologists
Mm-hmm.
to look into, and that the now I think Sirius actually is mentioned as well, that they come up. Um, I think the Sirius comes first, and then Orion's belt on Christmas Eve, and from the same point that they come up, um, the sun comes up on Christmas morning.
Oh.
I think I've got that right. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I think I got that right. I don't know where the Three Kings came into it, like to be known as the Three Kings. I've never actually found where did they get that information from, but I've found it interesting that it kind of linked into Sirius and Orion's belt with what you were talking about too. There's obviously lots there, like mythologically. What about Atlantis? To
Yeah, yeah.
change it completely, tell us about Atlantis. Where's the connection there?
So I think in order to understand Egypt and understand the pyramids and especially the monolithic structures that we have in Egypt, in order to try and make sense how they were built and where they came from, we have to go all the way back to Atlantis. Otherwise, we really can't figure it out. If we look at what archaeologists say to us, that they use these copper tools and maybe they were just ignorant workers or at best or slaves at worst, and they built these wonderful things that are there still for us to see. We could, I think we can say, well, the truth is hidden in plain sight. If we study the pyramids, if we study these places, we will see that they were built by engineers and by a very advanced technology. Now we don't have access to this technology anymore. But Atlantis was an incredible world. I remembered also my lifetimes in Atlantis, and we had access to the living light. That access comes from Atlantis. It's always been there for us as a human race, and it was available then as well. And Atlantis at first was a wonderful place. It was enlightened government. It was the teachers and the spiritual masters at the time who taught and governed Atlantis. But they created a separation between the people and the teachers. It's almost like the teachers are sitting on this high throne up there and the people are down there, and there is no communication. And in order to become part of this world of governing the city or becoming part of the uh, of this enlightened government, you had to do so much spiritual work and to grow. And you have to attain a level of spiritual growth before you can even speak to these people. So there was this separation, and it was deliberate because the enlightened teachers wanted to safeguard their vibration. At the time, the energy of the earth was very high, so there were, for those who were enlightened, they didn't have to go through the portal of death. So now we die, we basically leave our body back to the earth, and then our spirit leaves the body. But in those times there were some very, very evolved beings who did not have to die. They could ascend, they could turn themselves, their body could become light, back into the energy, back in being a tomb, and their consciousness could be present without that body, and they would leave the earth's vibration then. So they were very, there was a huge separation even. And then what happened was the people decided, we don't want this anymore, we will govern ourselves. And the teacher said, yes, that's your choice, you have free choice, free will, we will go and leave you. And they left technology, incredible technology, incredible knowledge, to people who had very little consciousness to use it. It was like giving a child, sort of the control of a radioactive station. That child does not know, the power of this.
Mhm.
And that was the problem. So in the beginning, Atlantis was very respectful. They had a plan to connect the whole of their world and empire, you could say, together through sacred sites. So they built pyramids not just in Egypt. I'm sure we'll discover much more, and sacred sites around where their dominion was. Their maybe dominion is not the right word, where they were, they had their influence. And these places were also inhabited by indigenous people, but they were very respectful at first. So they built these places. They had a station there. So they had a city that was near the pyramids of Giza. So this city was called the city of the central sun, or the city of the sun, Heliopolis in Greek, or Ionu in the ancient Egyptian tongue. and they lived there. But when Atlantis falls, some of them knew that beforehand. This is going to be, Atlantis is going to fall, and they left Atlantis and they went to different places in the world where they had built already those structures. And one of those places was Egypt. So the pyramids are built already by the Atlanteans, and then they come to Egypt. They create this wonderful civilization, and at some point they realize there are too few of them left, and there's the indigenous population, and we need to come together. We need that they have the unification of what is called the unification of the two lands. So the lower Egypt, which is actually northern Egypt, which was where the Atlanteans were, the pyramids, etc. And they had this plan for the whole of the Nile. And then the upper Egypt, the southern Egypt, they come together and they become one nation, and everything is shared through the mysteries. So the temples are universities. It's not like in the temple you can only become a priest. You start becoming a priest, but then you become an astrologer, a doctor, a midwife, an artist, because everything is sacred. That was the basis of sharing the knowledge, that first you have to have some sort of realization, and of course you could become also a priest.
Goodness. And so did all this information come to you through meditation, or is this from various other sources?
It came to me through meditation. So I try, when people give me sometimes books on ancient Egypt, esoteric books, and books on Isis, but my helping spirit, Isis, my helping spirit, she says to me, don't read any of this, because I want you to be a pure channel, and I want you to know that you have not, that you have a clear knowledge that comes from these channelings, and that I have not been influenced by reading somebody else's story. But other people, have similar stories, because when I share, other people say, yes, I've also seen that, or I've heard that, or I've read that. And it came to me through meditation, through channeling, and channeling Isis, through rituals, ceremonies, dreams. Isis comes to my dreams and speaks to me, and writing out her words, because it's like really listening to you. It's just I write down what she says, and then I read it and I'm thinking, oh, that's amazing, because I don't know the information that is coming through until that moment that I write it. And that's how the book came to be. It was like, of course, I've been working, when I wrote the book, I had been working with Isis for many years. So I've been working with her, as a child, but as a channel, I've been working with her since, 2006, 2007, etc. And then came until that moment. So the book was written in 2023, 2022, 23. So that book, does have all the experiences that I had with her, and that knowledge. But at the same time, it was her words that came in the book. And I read it sometimes and I'm thinking, oh, that's really good. But it's actually because it is a channeling.
And this is the book that we're talking about. If I can...
Yes, Sacred Mysticism of Egypt. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. It's a really, really, there we go.
Thank you, Alyson.
It's an excellent cover. That's a
Yeah,
really
thank
nice
you.
cover. What is it that we're seeing on the cover there?
So on the cover, you have Isis here. So Isis is supporting Osiris. Osiris here appears as the spirit that is both death and life. So green is the color of the earth, the regeneration, the plants, all that is coming out of the ground, the life force energy of the earth. And of course, all that is coming out of the ground is also the dead material that has gone into the ground to make the earth fertile. So he's white, wearing the white. The white is the mummy, the white bindings of the mummy. So
Okay.
you have death and life, and she's supporting him. So she's supporting the cycle of life here on the earth. And then you have the priest here, he's holding the incense offering. So what he's holding there is he's offering incense. There is also this altar, offering altar, where you have the blue lotus symbolizing
Oh,
awakening. And the blue lotus is a very important plant because it's the main offering to the gods and goddesses. You know, people sometimes have these Hollywood ideas, oh, there was human sacrifice, or there was all these things, but it's actually the blue lotus that they are offering as a thank you, as an offering of gratitude to the deities. And then you have food there, you could see, and at the bottom is the essential oils and vases. And the food, what is happening here is all energized. So it's almost like the enlightened beings through the ritual energize this food. Then at the time of the festival, this food is that the temple holds, offers to the people. So we eat, becomes medicine. It's like this transformation of the basic matter into the light, into medicine. So they eat the energized food that's the spirits have energized,
so
have got
is
them.
there actually a plant, a blue lotus plant
There
or
is,
flower?
yes, yeah, the
And do
flower.
people actually eat it?
Well, you can drink the tea. You can drink the tea of the flower. They used to make especially oil, essential oil, for beautiful oil from lotus flower. It's one of the most exquisite oils.
Oh,
The incense, blue lotus incense, and also they used to eat the bulb. They used to make like a flour from the bulb, like to make bread and cakes and things like that. There is a lot of that. Used to be so much of that in the Nile, but now it's pretty much gone. There is like one or two purposefully cultivated blue lotus flowers, in like outside the museums or something like that. But it's not really abundant in the Nile where it used to be everywhere.
right.
And the blue lotus is one of the um, elements of the prophecy about our awakening times. They say when the blue lotus returns to Egypt, and blue lotus symbolizes awakening through unconditional love. That's one of the signs that we are in the changing times of the awakened heart again.
Ah. I wonder if that's in certainly in Scotland, the colour blue is associated with the supernatural, and I wonder
Well,
if
there is an association because the blue lotus flower is slightly, very slightly hallucinogenic. So we know that sometimes the ancients used this as a door in the beginning of people who wanted to be connected and they couldn't do it naturally, that they sometimes use this, but it's so slight. So if people drink the tea, find blue lotus tea that you can get, there's nothing there, otherwise you couldn't buy it. It's not there because it's so slight, it's so light. You would need tons and tons of
you
lotus
need a lot of it,
to actually have an effect.
extra concentrated lotus
Yeah,
flower.
yeah, sorry to disappoint those who are looking for lotus flowers and tea.
There
So
certainly is. There's a lot about the receiving enlightenment, underneath the lotus flower is all part of that, definitely. I think actually we've unfortunately ran out of time there, but it's been a fascinating uh, discussion with you about this new book, and I can only thank you so much for joining me on this week's show. And wish you all the luck in the world with your new book, which is it's really fascinating. I've not finished it, but it has me really gripped. I had me gripped till 3 o'clock this morning reading it. I was like this, you know. It is so fascinating. So I wish you all the love and luck in the world with that, and I hope that you get many sales
Thank you so much,
from
Alice.
your book, and you've still got the ISIS school, so you're still doing shamanic workshops and things like that. Do you want to give people the website address for that?
Yes, yes. So it's the IC School of Holistic Health.com, all one word, the IC School of Holistic Health.com. And we do the shamanic workshops, we do the ancient Egyptian mysteries. We have an introduction of the ancient Egyptian mysteries, a webinar once a month for those people interested in finding out more. That includes also spiritual practices, not just history. It's very, very busy. There's so much in the website. And we also have a monthly newsletter, which is free for everyone to subscribe. And every month I channel a message from my helping spirit goddess Isis about our world now, not what happened in ancient Egypt, but what is the human predicament and how we can find ourselves in this higher vibration as we walk our spiritual path. So there are beautiful insights that come through. And thank you so much, Alyson. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be back because you are a wonderful host and you are actually somebody who read the book, because I'm doing a lot of these interviews just now. It's a new book, so there's but sometimes people have not read the book, so it's like yeah, the discussion can be very much one way, but your knowledge and dedication to this podcast and also to your work is wonderful, and it really comes through. So we had such a wonderful discussion because of you, and I'm so grateful to be here, and good luck with everything. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much, Fotoula. And so, everyone, I will see you next time on ADX Files. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.